Welcome to my November TBR. Have you met my patron saint mug of fall? This is Helga. I don't know why she's Helga. She's just always been Helga, and she is my favorite fall mug. Helga Hedgehog. Are you ready for just the biggest November TBR of all time? Because that's what I have here. Traditionally in November, I do three things. One, I do the Bloom and Readathon, but I'm not gonna do that this year. Two, I do Nonfiction November, which I am gonna do this year. And as you probably know, if you know what Nonfiction November is, you probably know that this is the last year that Olive at A Book Olive, who got this initiative started, is going to be leading Nonfiction November. Now, Nonfiction November is such a staple of the booktube community now that I highly doubt that Nonfiction November is going to disappear just because A Book Olive drops it. And so of course I want to take part in that. Also, I usually, because Bloom and Readathon usually requires such a lot of books, I tend to do a spinner wheel and play a little game. So I pick books for all the prompts and then spin the wheel to see what I actually read. Well, I'm not doing Bloom and Readathon this year, but I am doing the spinning wheel. So I have, I have 50 books on a wheel, and we're gonna quickly go through them all. We'll spend a little bit more time on some than others, and then I'm gonna spin the wheel and see, I'm gonna pick 8 books to start. And then as the month progresses, as I finish a book, I will move on to the next one. Now, the other thing about November is that when I start a book, I either have to finish it or DNF it before I start the next book. That is my rule in November. I read single books. I read one book at a time in November, which is not my norm at all. I am either going to be finishing those first 8 books that I pick in an order of my choosing, or I'm going to be DNFing some of them, but I'm gonna pick an order for them and read one at a time. And then as I finish a book, I'll add a new book to the bottom of the stack using the spinner wheel. So I have 50 books that I would possibly like to read, many of them nonfiction, and I probably will read like 15. That's how that will go. But I don't know which 15. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what I have. This is so exciting. I'm going to start with the Nonfiction November picks. And I have picked 3 to 4 for each category. I'm going to my computer now. Okay, so first, the first word. If you're not familiar with Nonfiction November, Olive generally gives 4 words as prompts. And these words can be interpreted any way that works for you. So let's start with the first word. Code is the first word. And the first book I have is The Year of Living Constitutionally. This has been on a previous TBR, I think May, when I pre-ordered it and arrived. I was so excited. I never got to it. Didn't get it on another TBR until now. So it's possible that I might be reading The Year of Living Constitutionally by A.J. Jacobs, one man's humble quest to follow the Constitution's original meaning. How does this fit the prompt of code, you say? Well, this is a country's code of conduct. It's a citizen's code of conduct. So I am going to possibly read about Jacobs as he tries to live according to the letter of the law of the Constitution. Also for code, I have this pre-ordered. This is by Jean Menzies, and this is Live Like a Goddess. This is about unlocking the mythological code of meaning in different female characters in mythology. I don't believe she focuses on any one mythology. If you know Jean, which you might, she's been a booktuber for a really long time. She has a PhD in, which you can watch, if you watch her back videos, you can watch her earn, but she has a PhD in mythology, I think, specifically, and she knows so much about Greek and Roman myth, and she has written she's edited multiple books, written multiple books at this point, self-published a fantasy as well, but she's gotten things published specifically for children and young adults centering around unlocking the mystery of how to understand mythology and how it's applicable to your own like living. And so that's what this is, Live Like a Goddess by Jean. And so that is the mythological code. And then I also have this on hold at the library. This might come in for me, and if it does end up on my list, I would love to read it. And if it doesn't end up on my list, it is coming in from the library. I might try to fit it in anyway, or I might hold on to it and read it in December, because I'd really like to read this. And that is this biography of Beatrix Potter. Now, why is this code? Because Beatrix Potter kept her journals coded. She wrote all her journals in code. How cool is that? So I would really like to read this biography of Beatrix Potter. I have wanted to read one all year, ever since reading A Fine Romance in January. I believe I read that, where Susan Branch keeps a journal of her trip with her husband across the sea to England, and one of the places she visits is Beatrix Potter's home in the Cotswolds. And I would really, really like to read more about Beatrix Potter. The next word was, oh no, I have one more for code. I have 4 for code. I have this on audio. It's not available in the States yet as a book. It's coming out in January, I think, but I can get the audio of it, and I'm gonna want the audio anyway because it is read by the author. This is the latest memoir by Miranda Hart. This is I Haven't Been Entirely Honest with You. Now, it just came out that Miranda Hart during lockdown got married. And she didn't tell anyone. I mean, not that she needs to tell me. She doesn't even know that I walk the planet, but I'm excited to find out what is in this. Miranda Hart is one of my favorite people. She is a hilarious, hilarious human being, but she also has so much empathy and kindness and wisdom, and I really appreciate everything that she puts out. And so I'm looking forward to reading this. I Haven't Been Entirely Honest with You. What does it have to do with code? Well, if you're not entirely honest, that has to do with your moral code. So I'm reaching a little bit, but it's okay. Next, the next word is shot. So for my first book for that is one I've been trying to get on TBRs for such a long time and haven't been able to. And that is The Last King of America, The Misunderstood Reign of George III by Andrew Roberts. Andrew Roberts. This is a huge book, but I would love to read this. I'm a little bit, a lot obsessed with the Georgians. I'm a lot obsessed with the Georgians, particularly with a couple of his sons. But I would really like to read this. This is Mad King George. This is The Last King of America. And what does this have to do with shot? Well, the shot heard round the world is what we refer to as the beginning of the Battle of Lexington and the battle at Lexington and Concord, and that was the beginning of the American Revolution, in which America seceded from this king, England. So I'm hopeful to be able to read that. The next thing I have is another book that has been on TBRs, several TBRs, since May. It's so short, and I actually truly just desperately really want to read it, and I haven't, and that is Lady Caroline Lamb. Lady Caroline Lamb. This is a biography by Antonia Fraser of Caroline Lamb, a woman who probably had some mental illness, who was entirely, wildly, passionately, shunned societal normsly, in love with Lord Byron. And she does some wild stuff. So shot here is because she was shot through the heart in love. Am I reaching? I am, but I'm doing it so creatively. Then I would have 2 that I don't own right now. So one I would like to read. I can get it from my library if this comes up, and that is The Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee book. I can also get this on audiobook. I believe that it's among the free ones you can listen to if you have an Audible subscription. And so I could listen to this, and I think that would be hilarious. This is based on the little show that Jerry Seinfeld had, where he had people sit in his car and they went for coffee and they had discussions, they had little talks, different celebrities. And so I would love to listen to this. Why is it shot? Well, shot of espresso. And then finally, this is what I've been wanting to read for such a long time, such a long time. I can get this on audio from Libby. Nobody ever checks it out, so I think it would be fine if it comes up last minute and I could listen to it. This is Women in White Coats: How the First Women Doctors Changed the World of Medicine by Olivia Campbell. This is shot like a medicinal shot. Then I have four books for the third word, which is path. Path. The first one is a reread that I've been wanting to do for some time. That is 12 Stones, Notes on a Miraculous Journey. This is a memoir by Barbara Carroll. And I read this first, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago with a small book group of very close friends that I had. I believe she is a local author, Pacific Northwest local, and this is her life story. And it, if I remember correctly, is incredibly powerful and inspirational. And I've been wanting to do a reread of it for quite some time. And so I consider it one of my most influential books, like on my life. And I've only ever read it once, but I've read bits and pieces of it over and over again. I would like to reread the entire thing from start to finish. Of course, it is on the word path because this is about the path of life. Next, I would like to read Just Discipleship. This is a book that is recommended to me by my friend Carmen. Carmen is an amazing female theologian. She teaches at Biola University and she hosts a lot of really cool things online, like Torah Tuesday and just things like that. We went to college together and she is phenomenal, and she is and has always been so incredibly intelligent and such a critical thinker. And she recommended this to me, Just Discipleship. And so I would really like to read this. This is on the word path because it is about the path of justice. And then I have Stalking Shakespeare by Lee Durrock, a memoir of a madness, murder, and my search for the poet beneath the paint. This just sounds super fun. I love books about Shakespeare and people's experiences with Shakespeare, and I'm fascinated by how Shakespeare has such a large place in lives when we know so little about the actual man himself. But people do wild things for Shakespeare, and that one is on path because it is stalking, so it's on the path of Shakespeare. And then finally, I have this one, which I would like to read. This is a new release. I haven't been able to put it on hold at the library, but if I have to buy it, I think I will buy it, maybe on audio, because this just sounds phenomenal. This is The World Walk by Tom, I don't know how to say his last name. There are people moving in to the building, and Lola is not having it. But this is about a man who, it's obvious why it's on path. It's about a man who's walking 7 years, 28,000 miles, 6 continents, a grand meditation, 1 step at a time. So I think he just takes like the longest walk ever, and I'm really into that. I love that idea, and I would like to read about his experience doing that. And the final word is join. The first one I have on hold at my library. This is Dinner with Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz. She was one of the main characters, or she played one of the main characters in One Tree Hill, which is a show that even as an adult, I really enjoyed watching. It's like a teenage soap opera in the tradition of like The OC and Dawson's Creek, you know, One Tree Hill. She was in that, but apparently, and I didn't know this, while she was in that show, being one of the 2 main female leads in that show, she was also in a cult. And it's a cult I've never heard of before, but I really want to know what she has to say about being in a cult and also being in a show, apparently, where the cast was kind of like a cult. So that's about join. Join this cult and cast. Lola, honey, join this cult and cast. The next book I want to read is London's #1 dog walking agency. This is the adventures of Kate McDougall, who is I guess, a dog walker. I don't know, but it takes place in London. It's about dogs. It's about walking, 3 things that I love. And so I would like to read this. I think it's just a memoir about owning a dog walking agency and the trials and tribulations that come with that. But it sounds like fun. And of course, this is about join us on this walk. This could, of course, fit for Path as well, but I already had 4 books for Path, and I only had 2 for Join. So join us on this walk. And finally, this one has not yet been released, but it's coming out super soon, and I will be listening to this on audio no matter what. And that is, the name of the band is R.E.M. by Peter Ames Carlin. R.E.M. is one of my iconic bands. Like, I love R.E.M. And so this is Join. And my note says, join the band and everyone who has ever sung Everybody Hurts at the top of their voice. So yeah, really excited to read that. That will be read no matter what. But also, if I do get it on the spinner wheel, I will count it for the word join. Now, what occurs next is a random selection of books. Some new to TBRs, you haven't seen them on TBRs from me yet. Some returns, some rereads. These are just fall vibe books that I would like to try to have a chance to read again, and I will read whatever fate decides for me on that spinner wheel. Fate may choose that I don't read any nonfiction. Who knows? The wheel. The wheel is in charge. But quickly, these are the things that are once again on the wheel. A lot of them, some of them are on my Kindle. I have purposefully put them on the wheel so that I can actually read them. And now that I have my new Kindle, I have zero excuses. Zero excuses. First though, let's talk about this one. This is the Beacon Street Bookshop by Carla Laureano. This is the second in a trilogy. I think the thing that holds this trilogy together is the location, not the characters, although I think you will see characters pop in and out. I just finished the first one. So I finished the first one, The Broken Hearts Bakery, and really loved it in the month of October. And so I want to read the second one in November, maybe, if fate decides. The first one was really fall. It fit really, really well for fall. And I don't know when this one is set, but it looks a little bit springy or summery. So who knows? It's up to the wheel. But this one is about, well, it's a romance. It's a small town romance. It says, ever since Olivia Quinn lost her husband to a plane crash, she's been focused on one thing, making a stable life for her teen stepdaughter, Taylor, of whom she's the sole guardian. Okay, so in this one, our main character, Gemma Van Buren, comes back to this small town in order to take care of Taylor when Taylor's mom, her best friend, Olivia, has to leave town. We know that the husband is dead. He's been dead for a while. Okay, so there are spoilers for the first book on the back of here, so I'm not going to read that. I know the character that this story is going to be about, and that's going to be a good time. I think this is probably going to be maybe more of a heartrending story than the first one, which was really like light and heartwarming. This one might have a little bit more sadness to it. Yeah, a little bit more loss. All right, next on the list is a pre-order that I have. This is The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. A wandering fortune teller finds an unexpected family in this warm and wonderful debut fantasy, perfect for readers of Travis Baldry and Songu Mandana. Dao is an immigrant fortune teller traveling between villages with just her trusty mule for company. She only tells small fortunes, whether it will hail next week, which boy the barmaid will kiss, when the cow will calve. She knows from bitter experience that the big fortunes come with big consequences. Even if it's a lonely life, it's better than the one she left behind, but a small fortune unexpectedly becomes something more when a semi-reformed thief and an ex-mercenary recruit her into their desperate search for a lost child. Soon they're joined by a baker with a need for adventure, and it does say, it's a pun, K-N-E-A-D, like need the bread, instead of N-E-E-D, like I need this thing. So a need for adventure, and of course, a slightly magical cat. That sounds perfect. Perfect for November. Would have been great for October, but it hasn't been released yet. Next on the list is, I am just surrounded by books, people. Surrounded. Hi. All right, next is another Philippa Gregory. I am loving reading Philippa Gregory, watching Philippa Gregory television shows. I am all about Philippa Gregory right now. So this is Philippa Gregory, a novel, Tidelands. This is the first in a trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. Does she have a list of books? Oh, she does. So I've finished the Wide Acre trilogy, which I loved, but know going into that the main character of the first one and the whole like premise of the establishment of the family is way messed up. Way messed up. But it doesn't tell me about this particular series of books. I think this is a trilogy. I don't think there are 4 books, but this is the first one. This is Philippa Gregory, Tidelands, and I did just go ahead and get all of these. It says Better half price books, but I actually got it from Better World Books, and I actually got all of the books in the series a few months ago, but I don't remember in hardback, but I don't remember if I got 3 or 4, but it doesn't matter because I'm just starting with Tidelands. And this one, it says England, 1648. It's a dangerous time for a woman to be different. Midsummer Eve, 1648, and England is in the grip of a civil war between renegade king and rebellious parliament. The struggle reaches every corner of the kingdom, even to the remote tidelands, the marshy landscape of the south coast. Eleanor, a descendant of wise women, trapped by poverty and superstition, waits in the graveyard under the full moon for a ghost who will declare her free from her abusive husband. Instead, she meets James, a young man on the run, and shows him the secret ways across the treacherous marsh, not knowing she is leading disaster into the heart of her life. Oh, suspected of possessing dark secrets in superstitious times, Eleanor's ambition and determination mark her out from her neighbors. This is the time of witch mania, and Eleanor, a woman now without a husband, skilled with herbs, suddenly enriched, arouses envy in her rivals and fear among the villagers who are ready to take lethal action into their own hands. That sounds phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Let's do it. I hope that one comes up. To be honest, I'm going to hope that all of these come up. Next on the list is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I am so annoyed because this doesn't match my other 2 versions, which would be so pretty on my shelf, because the first book in the trilogy looks like this one and has this like cool foil. These are the American editions and I prefer them, which is odd. It's so strange. But this wasn't available. It was available in hardback and I wanted soft and ordered soft, and it showed a cover similar to this, but when it arrived, it was the British version, and it's a different size, different layout, different. So that's okay. This is the 3rd and last book, The Last Hours, book 3. And I can't tell you anything about it because I'm sure that the back is full of spoilers for the first 2. So hopefully that comes up. Next is another pre-order. This is The Muse of Maiden Lane. This is the 4th and final book in this group of books by Mimi Matthews about this group of friends in Victorian London. I have read the first 3 and absolutely love them. In fact, The Belle of Belgrave Square is one of my favorite reads of the last couple of years. So I am really looking forward to reading The Muse of Maiden Lane. And then I have A Haunting on the Hill by Elizabeth Hand. I have read a couple of other things in the last few years by Elizabeth Hand, and I really like her writing. This is a retelling or a revisiting or a reimagining, I'm not sure, of Hill House. And so I'm curious to know how this will go. I know that I get along with Elizabeth Hand. Will I get along with her re-enlivening Hill House? Next on my list is the 3rd book in Raven Boys series. So I read the first book in September and reread the first book in September. I reread the second book in October, and now I'm going to reread the 3rd book of 4, Blue Lily Blue. And I'm not going to tell you anything about this, but this series is amazing and you should want to read it. Then next, I want to get back into this. I want to be able to finish the series, and I've only read the first one, and this happened the first time I read these books. The first time I read them, I only read the first one, never picked up the second and the third. This is Rebel Angels by Libba Bray. This is the second. Is it the second, or is the other one the second? Yeah, this is the second book in this series about Gemma Doyle. Ooh, this is set at Christmas. Ooh, that's good. This is the second book. I've never read it. I read the first book twice now. The second time I read it was this year. And this is about Gemma Doyle, who in the first book, we see her, she's been living in India. This takes place in the Victorian period, and her mother dies, and there's spiritual things going on. She gets sent to a boarding school in England while she's having culture shock and things like that. She's also learning about things that she can do and things that she knows and skills that she has, gifts that she has. And there is really dark stuff going on in this world. I don't know what's going to happen in the second book, but I would really like to complete this series this year. And that last book in the series is super, super chunky. So yeah, I would like to be able to finish this series this year. We'll see. We'll see. Next is Insurrection, the second book in the Rosewater trilogy. This is by Tade Thompson, and I read the first one, which was might be called Rosewater. Yes, Rosewater. So I read the first one it's the Wormwood trilogy. I read the first one in the Wormwood trilogy, or as a library versus library pick, a few years ago, and really, really loved it. This is science fiction. It's very different from anything that I would normally read. It's very dark and atmospheric. It takes place in a future Africa, where there is an element of the supernatural, but more so extraterrestrial stuff going on. And it's so unlike anything that I have ever read and enjoyed before, but I really enjoyed it. It is super dark and heavy, and alien stuff scares me more than ghost stuff. So it's taken me a while to be ready to pick up the next one, but I really am ready. Rosewater is very clear still in my mind. I may not remember names of people, but I remember what happened. And so I don't think that I need to reread Rosewater, but I might find that I do. I doubt it, but I would really like to read this. When will I get to the third one? I don't know, maybe in a couple of years again, but I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready for Insurrection. I have this on hold in my library, and it's set to come in a couple of weeks, so I just went ahead and put it on this. It's Haunt Sweet Home by Sarah Pinsker. I saw someone talking about this. I think it's a novella. Yeah, this is a novella. I don't remember who I heard talking about it, but I put it on hold at the library because it seemed compelling. It's by Sarah Pinsker. It says, on the set of a kitschy reality TV show, staged scares transform into unnerving reality in this spooky ghost story from multiple Hugo and Nebula award-winning author Sarah Pinsker. It says, don't talk today about what we do at night. When aimless 20-something Mara lands a job as the night shift production assistant on her cousin's ghost hunting home makeover reality TV show, Haunt Sweet Home, she quickly determines her new role will require a healthy attitude toward duplicity. But as she hides fog machines in the woods and improvises scares to spook new homeowners, a series of unnerving incidents on set and a creepy new co-worker force Mara to confront whether the person she's truly been deceiving and hiding from all along is herself. Eerie and empathetic. Ooh, I like that. Eerie and empathetic. Haunt Sweet Home is a multifaceted supernatural exploration of finding your own way into adulthood and into yourself. That sounds phenomenal. Next, I have A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. I picked this up at Book of the Month. I haven't read it yet, and I need to actually read it. I think everybody in the world has read this but me. It says, Travis Rinn has an unusual talent for locating missing people. Hired by families as a last resort, he requires only a single object to find the person who has vanished. When he takes on the case of Maggie St. James, a well-known author of dark, macabre children's books, who doesn't love a dark, macabre children's book? He's led to a place many believe to be only a legend. Known as Pastoral, this reclusive community was founded by like-minded people searching for a simpler way of life. But soon after Travis stumbles upon it, he disappears, just like Maggie St. James. Sounds good. It says, the next line says years later, but I'm not gonna keep reading. Then I have on my Kindle, I have An Education in Malice. It says that it's sumptuous and addictive. An Education in Malice is a dark academia tale of blood, secrets, and insatiable hungers from S.T. Gibson, author of the cult hit A Dowry of Blood, which I haven't read. It doesn't appeal to me. And actually, Katie Coulson was so into it. I used to watch Katie Coulson. I don't really watch her anymore just because, you know, you go in cycles with booktubers. For a while there, back when I did watch Katie Coulson, she talked about A Dowry of Blood, like in every video for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And she would read portions of it and talk about how beautiful the writing was, and it didn't feel beautiful to me. It didn't feel like something I was interested in at all. And so I have not really been interested in anything, but for whatever reason, this one sounds good to me. So I'm going to give it a try. It says, deep in the forgotten hills of Massachusetts stands St. Perpetua's College. Isolated and ancient, it is not a place for timid girls. Here, secrets are currency, ambition is lifeblood, and strange ceremonies welcome students into the fold. To be honest, it sounds like the school I work at. I mean, that could be said about any girls' school. I know, it's darker. It's darker. On her first day of class, Laura Sheridan is thrust into an intense academic rivalry with the beautiful and enigmatic Carmilla. Oh, this is the Carmilla retelling by J. Sheridan Le Fanu. That's why I picked this. Okay. Together, they are drawn into the confidence of their demanding poetry professor, de La Fontaine, who holds her own dark obsession with Carmilla. But as their rivalry blossoms into something far more delicious, Laura must confront her own strange hungers, tangled in a sinister game. So it's going to be a vampire story, and it's going to be a nod or a retelling. So is everything that S.T. Gibson writes a vampire story? I don't know. But A Dowry of Blood was a vampire, a nod to Dracula, and this one is a nod to Carmilla, which is another really famous vampire story. So okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I have it on my Kindle. I might as well see if it comes up. Then I have, kind of a little outlier, I think. I have the first book in a trilogy by Sigrid Undset, and it's not the trilogy you think. It's not Lavensdatter. What is that? Karen Lavensdatter? I've read those and really liked them. Is it Karen? It's not Karen. Kristen. Kristen Lavensdatter. I've read those and really love them. I've actually read that whole series twice. But this is a different series by her. This is The Master of Hestviken. This is the Axe. The first in a trilogy. It's set in 13th century Norway, a land racked by political turmoil and bloody family vendettas. The Axe is the first volume in Sigrid Undset's epic, tetralogy. The Master of Hestviken. In it, we meet Olav Audunson and Ingunn Steinfensdatter, who were betrothed as children and raised as brother and sister. That's not weird. Now, in the heedlessness of youth, they become lovers, unaware that their ardor will forge the first link in a chain of murder, exile, and disgrace. Soaringly romantic and psychologically nuanced, Undset's novel is also a meticulous recreation of a world split between pagan codes of retribution and the rigors of Christian piety. A world where law is a fragile new invention and manslaughter is so common, it's punishable by a fine. I love her writing. And I'm excited to discover that, and hopefully I'll love the series and continue on with it. Now I have a reread. This is a book I read as an ARC last year and didn't own a copy of, but finally just bit the bullet and bought it because I've been thinking about it ever since I finished reading it. This was one of my favorite books of last year. It's silly not to own one of your favorite books. This is The Beginning of Everything by Jackie Fraser. This is the story of a woman who finds herself in a hard time. She's homeless. She sneaks into a house that is on the market. It is empty. And little does she know that while she is squatting there, someone purchases it and begins to move in. They cross paths, and the man who purchased the house allows her to continue living there. They kind of become roommates, and of course they fall in love. But this is such a great story. I loved this so much. and I am looking forward to rereading it just a year later. I'm really excited and hopeful that the wheel chooses it for me. Then I have my last big Rosamund Pilcher. This is over 1,000 pages. This is, oh no, it's not over 1,000 pages. It's 936 pages, but it might as well be 1,000 pages. This is Coming Home, and it's my last big Rosamund Pilcher that I have left. I read September last year as my Rosamund Pilcher. And actually, I read The Shell Seekers this summer. I was like, haven't I read one? I did. I read The Shell Seekers this summer. But still, Winter Solstice is my favorite. I am looking forward to possibly reading this one. We'll see if it comes up. If I don't get to it in November, I will probably pick it in January. Against the backdrop of an elegant Cornwall mansion before World War II and a vast continent-spanning canvas during the turbulent war years, this involving story tells of an extraordinary young woman's coming of age, coming to grips with love and sadness, and in every sense of the term, coming home. I don't want to know anymore. I love Rosamund Pilcher's books, and I'm excited to just dive into it, whatever it may be. This one I really hope comes up. This is one that I just on a whim, I didn't know when I got it from Book Outlet that it was going to be such a long book, but it sounded so good. It is huge. It feels longer than the Pilcher, but it's just the way it's bound. It's only 722 pages, so it's shorter by 200 pages. This is Fane by Anne-Marie MacDonald. And it says, in the late 19th century, Charlotte Bell is growing up at Fane, a vast and lonely estate straddling the border between England and Scotland, where she has been kept from the world by her adoring father. Owing to a mysterious condition, strong, insatiably curious Charlotte has grown up with the knowledge that her mother, a beautiful Irish-American heiress, whose magnificent portrait looms over the landing in Fane House, died in giving birth to her, and that her older brother Charles, the long-awaited heir, died soon afterwards at the age of 2. When Charlotte's appetite for learning threatens to exceed the bounds of the estate, her father breaks with tradition and hires a tutor to teach his daughter, "As you would my son, had I one." But when Charlotte and her tutor's explorations of the estate's bog turn up an unexpected artifact, her father announces he has arranged for her to be cured of her condition, and her world is upended. Charlotte's passion for knowledge and adventure will take her to the bottom of family secrets and to the heart of her own identity. I hope that comes up. I would really like to read that. Then I have a book that I've been trying to read, a series I've been trying to read. I've started this book like 4 times and have never finished it. And then someone gave me a copy of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it one last time. If owning a copy of it doesn't get me through this book, then I'm going to put it in a little free library and be done with Sarah J. Maas forever. So I have started this multiple times and not gotten very far in it at all. We all know what A Court of Thorns and Roses is, so I'm just gonna put it on the list, on the stack. On my Kindle, I have A Fragile Enchantment. It says, in this romantic fantasy of manners, so it's Jane Austen with fairies, Niamh O. Concobair, I'm going to not say any of that right, has never let herself long for more. The magic in her blood that lets her stitch emotions and memories into fabric is the same magic that will eventually kill her. Determined to spend the little time she has left guaranteeing a better life for her family, Niamh jumps at the chance to design the wardrobe for a royal wedding in the neighboring kingdom of Avaland. But Avaland is far from the fairy tale she imagined. While young nobles attend candlelit balls and elegant garden parties, unrest brews amid the working class. The groom himself, Kit Carmine, is prickly. Kit Carmine, that just doesn't sound like the same kind of name as everybody else, is prickly, abrasive, and begrudgingly being dragged to the altar as a political pawn. But when Niamh and Kit grow closer, an unlikely friendship blossoms into something more. It goes on from there, but we'll pause at that point. I have this on my Kindle, Juniper Bean Resorts to Murder. This says, love, laughter, and a dead body. Juniper Bean has big plans for her writing career. Swoony kisses, sigh-inducing happily ever afters. She's going to write them all. There's just one problem. She can't seem to stop killing off her main characters. After accepting that a genre change is in order, Juniper sets out to do some research. What's the best way to carry a dead body? How exactly does one pick a lock? Juniper is going to find out with the unwilling help of her new roommate, Aiden. But Juniper's plans go haywire when she stumbles across an actual, real-life dead body, and before she knows it, she and Aiden are thrust into the middle of a murder mystery that seems suspiciously tied to Juniper's past. That sounds super fun. I have this on my Kindle. Cheerfulness Breaks In. This is one of the books in Angela Thirkle's nod to Barchester, to Trollope's Barchester Chronicles. This is book, I don't know which book it is in the series. There are so many books in this series. They're kind of like the misread books in pacing, and you don't necessarily need to read them in order, but the characters do interlap. It's kind of like a really long soap opera. But around this time of year, I do kind of find them cozy, and I have several of them on my Kindle. They're often quite inexpensive to purchase on the Kindle, or they are free sometimes. And when I get those Kindle points, like, I tend to just kind of accrue them and read them when I want to. This one is Cheerfulness Breaks In. It says, it is the summer of 1939, and the social event of the year is about to take place. Rose Burkett, a flighty beauty with a penchant for breaking engagements and hearts, is finally getting married, and the whole village, especially her parents, breathes a sigh of relief. By autumn, however, summer weddings seem a distant memory as war reaches Barsetshire, while the younger generation throws itself into the war effort with cheerful aplomb, older residents remember the last war keenly and are fearful. When an entire London school of evacuees arrives, as well as a number of refugees, the village rallies around to accommodate them. Some inhabitants, though, fail to welcome the newcomers with open arms. First published in 1940. So published during the war. That's very interesting. I have this on my Kindle. This is The Trackers by Charles Fraser. This says, hurtling past the downtrodden communities of Depression-era America, painter Val Welch travels westward to the rural town of Dawes, Wyoming. Through a stroke of luck, he's landed a New Deal assignment to create a mural representing the region for their new post office. A wealthy art lover named John Long and his wife Eve have agreed to host Val at their sprawling ranch. Rumors and intrigues surround the couple. Eve left behind an itinerant life riding the rails and singing in a Western swing band. Long holds shady political aspirations, but was once a World War I sniper, and his right hand is a mysterious elder cowboy, a vestige of the violent Old West. Val quickly finds himself entranced by their lives. One day, Eve flees home with a valuable painting in tow, and Long recruits Val to hit the road with a mission of tracking her down. It says more, but I'll stop there. Sounds awesome. And then also on my Kindle, I have The Foxglove King. So The Foxglove King, this is the first book in the Nightshade Crown series. It says, in this lush, romantic, epic fantasy series from a New York Times bestselling author, a young woman's secret power to raise the dead plunges her into the dangerous and glamorous world of the sainted king's royal court. When Laura was 13, she escaped a cult in the catacombs beneath the city of Delaire, and in the 10 years since, she has lived by one rule: don't let them find you. Easier said than done when her death magic ties her to the city. Nothing like death magic. Mortem, the magic born from death, is a high-priced and illicit commodity in Delaire. And Laura's job running poisons keeps her in food, shelter, and relative security. But when a run goes wrong and Laura's power is revealed, she's taken by the Presque Mort, a group of warrior monks sanctioned to use Mortem, working for the sainted king. Laura fully expects a pyre, but King August has a different plan. Entire villages on the outskirts of the country have been dying overnight, seemingly at random. Laura can either use her magic to find out what's happening and who in the king's court is responsible, or die. It says more, but I'm going to stop there. I have this as a reread. I would like to reread Touch Not the Cat by Mary Stewart. I've been craving a Mary Stewart, and none of the new ones are really appealing to me, but Touch Not the Cat is such a creepy, weird little book that I am very into it. This is Ashley Court, the tumble-down ancestral home of the Ashley family, all blessed with the gift of being able to speak to each other without words. When Byrony Ashley's father dies under mysterious circumstances, his final words, a cryptic warning to her, Bryony returns from abroad to uncover Ashley Court's secrets. What did her father's message mean? What lies at the center of the overgrown maze in the garden? And who was trying to prevent Bryony from Discovering the Truth. Really looking forward to rereading that if the wheel allows. And then I have Emily of Deep Valley. I know exactly where I got this recommendation. This is a Kate Howe favorite, and so I've never read the Betsy Tacy books. I know this is by the same author, but I would like to start with Emily of Deep Valley. It seems to me like a more appealing story. It says Emily Webster, an orphan living with her grandfather, is not like the other girls. She's not like the other girls her age in Deep Valley, Minnesota. After graduation, she longs to join the crowd and go off to college, but she can't leave her grandfather alone at home. Resigning herself to a lost winter, Emily nonetheless throws herself into a new program of study and a growing interest in the local Syrian community. And when she meets a handsome new teacher at the high school, Emily gains more than she ever dreamed possible. Maud Hart Lovelace's only young adult standalone novel, Emily of Deep Valley, is considered by fans of her beloved Betsy Tacy series to be one of the author's finest works. That sounds glorious. Glorious. Another Emily. I'd like to read the second book in the Emily of New Moon trilogy. I'd like to finish rereading this trilogy this year. I did read the first one back in April, I believe, March or April, and really enjoyed my time with it. And I don't know why I haven't just picked this up. It's been on a couple of different TBRs, but I'm putting it on this one just in case the wheel picks it. This is the second book. It would be a reread. I don't know, like the 10th time I've read it, but I love them so much. And really, it's always a good time to read Emily. And then I have this. I would like to reread this whole series. I've read all 4 of them. I own all 4 of them. I love them. This is the Mirror Visitor series. This is the first book, A Winter's Promise, by Christelle Dabos, and it is translated from French by Hildegard Serrel. And I know that the final book gets a bad rap. People don't like the way the series ended. I did like the way the series ended, but it took such a long time to read the series because I kept having to wait for the next book to come out that maybe I might feel differently when I read them all together, like back to back and close. I don't know, but I have very fond memories of this series and I would like to reread. This is my favorite one in the series. The first book is my favorite. The first and the third are my favorite books in the series. And I would like to start the series over again and reread A Winter's Promise. I would like to read Boo by Renee Gutteridge. This is a trilogy about a horror writer who finds God and decides that he's not going to write horror anymore, but he is a staple in his small town community, I believe in Maine. Maybe he's like a Stephen King type character. A lot of the town's income comes from people trying to come and see where he lives, get a glimpse of him, tap into all of the ways that his writing has been commodified. And when he decides that he's not going to write these kinds of things anymore and that he's not going to perpetuate these myths and live this spiritual quote unquote lie, the town tries to reconvince him that he needs to be doing this. It sounds hilarious. It sounds fun. And I'm curious to know how it goes. I got this from Better World Books. I didn't yet purchase the second and third book because I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. But the premise really cracks me up. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. We'll see if the wheel decides that I should read that one. We've got The Winter Sea by Susanna Kersley. This was just on a TBR and I didn't get to it. We've got The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. This has been on 2 TBRs and I haven't gotten to it. I have started it, but I haven't gotten very far. We've got, I keep bumping the camera today. We've got CTA Witch, which I also started, but didn't get very far in. And it was just on a recent TBR. So I want to give that another try. I've had this Mariana Zapata. I've read 2 Mariana Zapatas this year. This would be my 3rd. I've had it on my TBR shelf, I don't know, since the summer probably. And I would like to get to it possibly. This is The Best Thing. It says some things are easily forgiven, other things not so much. She writes romances, just straight up romances, contemporary romances. So we'll see. If it comes up on the spinner wheel, I'll tell you more about it. I have The Heartless Hunter. I picked this up from Book of the Month last month and haven't read it yet. I will not lie, I was inspired by my joy of reading Phantasma. So I started, you'll see that there are some, like Foxglove King, things like that. There are some romantasy type books. I don't usually read those, but I really enjoyed Phantasma. So I'm trying a few. And I picked this up from Better World Books. No. From Book of the Month. This is book 1 in the Crimson Moth series. It says her deadliest enemy or her greatest love. Enemies to lovers doesn't get more high stakes than a witch and a witch hunter falling in love. That's all I want to know. That sounds great. That's all I want to know. And then I have 2 that I pre-ordered that arrived in October that I just added to the November list. One is Nevo's The City in Glass. This is a short little book, and we all know Nevo just writes the most beautiful things, but this one says, a demon, an angel, a city. The demon Vitrine, immortal, powerful, and capricious, loves the dazzling city of Azrael. She has mothered, married, and maddened the city and its people for generations, and built it into a place of joy and desire, revelry, and riot. And then the angels come, and the city falls. Vitrine is left with nothing but memories and a book containing the names of those she has lost, and an angel, now bound by her mad grief-stricken curse to haunt the city he burned. She mourns her dead and rages against the angel she longs to destroy. Made to be each other's devastation, angel and demon are destined for eternal battle. Instead, they find themselves locked in a devouring fascination that will change them both forever. Together, they unearth the past of the lost city and begin to shape its future. But when war threatens Azrael and everything they have built, Vitrine and her angel must decide whether they will let the city fall again. The City in Glass is both a brilliantly constructed history and an epic love story of death and resurrection, memory and transformation, redemption and desire, strong enough to reduce a world to ashes and remake it anew. That just sounds phenomenal, and as I was reading it, I got goosebumps. And then I got this fun one. This is a middle grade. This is the Millicent Quibb School of Etiquette for Young Ladies, Mad Science by G. Edwina Candlestank, as told to Kate McKinnon. Of course, Kate McKinnon is the wonderfully comedic previous SNL actor. Look at that. Look how beautiful this book is. And she cracks me up. She is one of, I haven't even opened it. Look at this. Look at this. What a great book. This, I think, look how beautiful. This would make such a great Christmas gift, but I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I will probably read this. I will probably read this no matter whether it comes up or not. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's just going to be absolutely hilarious. That is it. That is it. That is all I have on my list. Let's go ahead and do the spinner wheel and see what we get. Oh, shoot. I didn't screen record. Hang on. Well, I'm not going to screen record, but as you can see, we've got The Haunting on Foster Hill. So that will be our first of 8 spins. Now this doesn't mean I have to read it first. I'm going to see all the 8 books that come up and then decide on my order. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to spin again. All right, we got one for Nonfiction November. We got Stalking Shakespeare. So let me grab that. You know, they're almost really, I'm feeling there really I can't go wrong. No matter what comes up, I'm gonna be into it. We'll hide that choice. Spin again. Spin number 3. Okay, I have this on hold at the library and it hasn't come in yet. It's Haunt Sweet Home, which I really, really want to read, but I'm gonna go ahead and spin a different one. So we're not hiding that choice, but we're gonna spin again. Haunt Sweet Home is still on the list, but I don't have it yet, so I just want to wait till it comes in. The Teller of Small Fortunes came up next, and that's on pre-order, and it doesn't come to the middle of the month, so I'm just going to leave that on the list as well. We're still on spin number 3. Ah, okay. We've got Emily Climbs. Oh, I'm really glad about that. I'm really glad about that. Spin number 4. What will it be? Ooh, okay. Okay. We've got Coming Home, basically 1,000 pages of Rosamund Pilcher. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one to have on the TBR in November. Okay. That's spin 4. We're gonna hide the choice. This is spin 5. Yes, I know. Oh, okay. We got Juniper Bean, Resorts to Murder. This is gonna be so fun. This one's on my Kindle. I will just pick a random book as a placeholder. It's not that long of a book. We'll use that one as a placeholder. We're on our 6th. Oh, yay. This is good. This is such a good start. We got, oh, I should show you. We got the Beacon Street Bookshop. So Beacon Street Bookshop. And we'll hide that choice. Spin number 7 of 8, the penultimate spin. Oh, good. This is good. I got, oh, I should show you. The Ornithologist Guide to Love. So this is the one by India Holton, who is just a hilarious writer. This will be great vibes for beginning of November. Last spin. Ooh, yes. Tidelands came up. Here we go. Tidelands. All right. You know what? 8 is a weird number. Let's do 10. Let's do 10. It's so much fun. The actual penultimate spin. That was the practice penultimate and final. This will be the actual penultimate. Number 9 of 10, and I'll stop at 10. Oh, okay. I have this on Kindle. This is A Fragile Enchantment. Okay, awesome. Awesome. I'll pick another book to just kind of sit there as a placeholder. And our final spin. Oh, perfect. Okay. Where is it? I was going to read this no matter what. Didn't get very many nonfiction, but that's okay. We got Blue Lily Blue, the third book in the Raven's Boy. All right. This is our TBR. Whew. This is our TBR with a couple in there for placeholders for 2 books that are on my Kindle. Juniper Resorts to Murder and Fragile Enchantment. And I think, what am I going to start with? Let's put them in order. I think I want to start with Emily Climbs, followed by Emily Climbs, followed by Blue Lily Blue, followed by Juniper Resorts to Murder. I know that's not the full title, but that's what I remember. Followed by Stalking Shakespeare, followed by Tidelands, Haunting, Ornithologist, can't hold them all up. Haunting, Ornithologist, and then in this order, Beacon Street, Fragile Enchantment, Coming Home. There's no way I'm starting with Coming Home because I may read it slowly and never get through any of them. So, yeah, I think that is the order that that's the order that I will read the first 10 in, and what a delightful set of books to be reading. Fate, The Wheel, really on my side. Super excited about all of those. But like I said, let's hide this choice. Like I said, I would be super excited about any of the books that are on this list. I'm really excited about this. I will be keeping a reading vlog, and yeah, super excited. Let's go read.